Welcome to English Impulse, the podcast for English learners and, well, basically everyone.
Every episode, Claire and I chat about the latest trends, news, and of course, all the juicy gossip. Hey, Claire.
Hey, Annie.
Hi, everyone.
So, let's talk about something that's been in the media a lot, something to do with media. A recent ban. Have you heard about that? The recent ban?
I have, and I find it extremely interesting.
Yeah.
So let's tell our listeners what we're talking about.
Yeah, the ban that they've introduced since the 10th of December, I think, in Australia, for social media for people or young people under the age of 16.
That's right. And at first look, it sounds simple. No, it sounds like something easy maybe to think about. There's not much there. But when you start really kind of digging into the details of this, I have more questions than I do answers.
For example?
Well, simply, how far do we want the government to intervene in what we're doing with our children? That could be one of our debates here. Secondly, should we be, if the problem is the content, why don't we attack the content instead of restricting children?
Yeah, but the problem there is it's not just the content, and I think there has to be they have to begin with some age limit.
Yes.
So we'll say 16. So if you're now 15 and a half, it's a bit of a bummer. But if you're 12 or 13, it's not, for me, it's more the speed, the overload of information that I really don't think a 12-year-old brain can handle.
I agree with that. And I agree that in that sense, that's why I have restrictions, for example, on my own children's time about how long they can be on the phone in general. I limit the time they can be on it, no? For an hour and a half a day or something like that. But what I'm more worried about is the information and the messaging that my children are receiving while they're on there for an hour.
Exactly. Well, that is the big worry. I mean, I think the main thing behind it is mental health.
Yes, yeah, for sure, and I agree with that.
And that comes from, again, the overload. That comes from children at such a young age. But then the detox. I mean, apparently they were all sending crazy messages to each other, like goodbyes, and because they were especially, as I say, when you're 15 and a half. Yeah. When you were born into it. That's right. I can get that it must seem so unfair.
Yeah, it must seem that you're getting cut off from your social ties. No, I mean, like,
and therefore the majority of teenagers, they kind of say, okay, we have to accept it, but they are working hard and fast to find a way around it.
Yeah, of course. And that's the other question. No, are we just teaching kids how to find ways around legal restrictions?
I know, Annie. Now, have you ever been a teenager? What do teenagers do?
Oh, I was so good at getting around restrictions.
There you are. Look back at some general bans or new laws that we now accept completely.
Yeah, that were very controversial at the time they were passed.
Smoking ban.
Right.
Now, the idea of people smoking inside, in a bus, in a cinema, on an aeroplane, it's just horrific.
Yeah, and it's true that the amount of smoking has gone down because of that.
Again,
Australia, has reduced it. Yeah.
You really feel like a leper in Australia if you smoke. People just don't smoke. And I think, again, younger generations now will say that are born now, or in their 8, 9, they're not going to be smokers.
That's right, because there's a social pressure about it.
Yeah. So we had to lead the way.
Right.
We had to show them what was wrong. So so we'll always, as a teenager, it's innate to look for ways around restrictions.
Yeah.
You
were saying other restrictions, no, that were kind of controversial. The seatbelt ban.
Exactly.
No?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember driving without a seatbelt completely when I was a child.
Well, they didn't even exist in the.
That's right. They didn't have them. Yes. Exactly. And now it's like unthinkable to go in a car without a seatbelt.
Exactly. And unfortunately, I mean, again, it's all down to statistics. So I think it has been proven that wearing a seatbelt is very dangerous. Not wearing a seatbelt.
Yes.
It can be very dangerous.
That's right.
Driving on the influence of alcohol or
drugs.
other substances is also statistically been proven that it's not very good.
Right.
So again,
Yes, hopefully this will occur in the same way that in one side, even though some people get around the restrictions, there'll be less use of it.
yeah, and I
No?
think it's important to mention as well that they're not totally cut off.
That's right.
In Australia, they do have WhatsApp.
That's right. They can still contact each other through WhatsApp. So it just might be a different platform than what they're used to.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I think these are learning curves. We're going places where we haven't been before.
That's right. That's right.
So again, unfortunately, there's a generation of people who were born into internet, born into social media,
Yeah.
and now the world is realizing that it's damaging. It's causing mental health problems. Therefore, Australia has taken the first step.
That's
and-
right. And it's true that usually after someone takes the first step, other places will follow suit.
Yeah, yeah.
So tell us what you think. Are you in agreement with this ban? What other things do you think might be a problem enforcing this ban? Let us know.
Do you know ways around it?
That's right. Okay, everyone. Take care.
Okay. Talk to you
Bye.
next year.
Bye bye.
Bye.